Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're plunging headfirst into something that's really got the rugby world talking: tactical innovations, the cutting edge stuff. We're going to look at some fascinating shifts in how teams are strategizing, causing a bit of debate, a lot of excitement too. Our mission, like always, is to take all the stuff you've shared, articles, notes, inside info, and just pull out the key bits, the real insights, so you're right up to speed. And hey, if you find this stuff as interesting as we do and you want to keep track of all these tactical breakdowns in rugby, make sure you hit subscribe on Rugby Obsession. Seriously, you don't want to miss what's coming up. Okay, so let's set the scene. The big thing today. England's head coach, Steve Borthwick, he's looking into what some are calling that controversial Springboks tactic, the 7-1 split on the bench. It feels pretty bold, pretty exciting, definitely making waves. So how did this whole thing even start?
Yeah, it's a big shift, a really revolutionary one.
Huh.
The 7-1 split, maybe just to clarify for everyone,
Right.
that stacking your bench with 7 forwards, right, and only one player who's an out-and-out back.
Right.
It actually kicked off with South Africa. They tried it first in a 2023 World Cup warm-up game. Kind of a statement of intent, really.
Yeah.
Signaled something new was coming in bench strategy.
Right. And it wasn't just a one-off experiment, was it? The Springboks, they basically pioneered it, and then, wow, they used it twice more during the World Cup against Ireland. Massive pool game. And then in the final against the All Blacks. That just shows incredible commitment to it, on the absolute biggest stages.
Exactly. And yeah, it took Rassie Erasmus maybe a bit over a year to roll the dice again after that first warm-up, but you just can't deny the impact it's had. The thinking behind it is pretty straightforward, actually. It's about relentless pressure. You bring on fresh forwards, keep that power coming, especially later on. You basically try to suffocate the other team at the breakdown, get quick ball, and just maintain this high-intensity defense that forces mistakes.
Yeah, makes sense. And with that kind of impact, you just knew other top teams would be watching closely. And France, well, they didn't just copy it, did they? They almost like weaponized it. They used it 3 times in a row in the 2025 Six Nations. And the result, total dominance. Big wins against Italy, Ireland, Scotland. And they took the title. That's not just luck, is it? That's proof it works at the top level, consistently.
And that success, that's exactly why England are now exploring it, as the Telegraph put it. It seems mostly driven by their sheer wealth of back rowers. Your flankers, number 8s, powerful, mobile guys, crucial for winning the ball, carrying hard. The back 5 of the scrum, so the 2 locks plus those 3 back rowers, that's the engine room, really. Yeah. And England just have so many talented players there. Borthwick's probably thinking how to get more of these guys involved.
Ah, okay. So that's where these hybrid players become absolutely vital for England if they want to try this. Because if you've only got one specialist back on the bench, wow, you need some serious versatility to cover injuries. Like Ben Earl, phenomenal flanker, number 8. But he's actually played center before, right?
Yeah, he has.
And then there's Alex Dombrandt. They think he could maybe slot in there too if needed during a match. That kind of flexibility suddenly makes a risky-looking strategy seem, well, quite calculated, a smart way to use your strengths.
Precisely. And Borthwick's been quite open about this, about positional versatility, how important it is. He actually said, let me find the quote here. Longer term, with how many good back rowers we've got, the list is long. It makes sense to have as many of those players in the squad in a 6-2, potentially a 7-1, as possible, especially when we have the positional versatility that we have. He also sort of indicated that 6-2 is the long-term plan anyway, just to get more quality players in. So the 7-1 might be seen as maybe an extreme version of that thinking, but still effective.
Yeah, it's all about getting the best players on the park, isn't it? And this isn't just theory. We saw it happen, didn't we? With France, Lebeloser, they had injuries. Dupont, Barassi, and they had to chuck Oscar Jagu forward into the back line against Ireland.
That's right.
And apparently he did a brilliant job at center. It just shows how player roles are changing, Adaptability can win you games under pressure. That's the flexibility this tactic needs. And when it works, it really works.
Okay, so it sounds revolutionary, which it is, but like any big change, it's got its critics. People aren't universally thrilled. You've got big names like Matt Williams, Sir John Kirwan, openly criticizing this bomb squad approach. Maybe just quickly, for anyone unfamiliar, what's that bomb squad nickname all about, and why are people like Williams and Kirwan so against it? Yeah, the bomb squad. It was coined for the Springboks, wasn't it? The idea of bringing on basically a whole new front row plus other big forwards off the bench, like an explosive wave of fresh power to, bomb the opposition late in the game. High impact. And the arguments against it, well, from their point of view, they're quite clear. Matt Williams feels it discriminates against backs, says it sidelines creative players in favor of just brute force. He also controversially suggested it makes the game more dangerous, more big collisions with fresh players. Although World Rugby's current research doesn't quite back that up. Sir John Kirwan, his angle is more about the quality of the sport itself. He thinks it hinders it. His argument is that constantly bringing on fresh forwards just reduces the chances for attacking expansive rugby, makes it more about grinding teams down than skill.
Interesting points, and it's not just pundits, is it? Even some coaches seem a bit wary. Gregor Townsend, the Scotland coach, apparently voiced some reservations about these really forward-heavy benches, even though he's used the 6-2 split himself sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
It shows it's a complex debate, even within the game's inner circle, that tension between, tactical advantage and maybe the spirit of rugby.
Which brings us to the big question. What does World Rugby say? The governing body. Well, right now they've stated they have no plans to ban it going forward. Their research, the data they have, indicates that for now it does not impact player welfare. So, while the debate continues about the spectacle, the style of play, there's no immediate move to regulate it based on safety. The conversation's definitely live, but the data isn't forcing a change just yet.
And that ongoing conversation is exactly why we want to hear from you listening in. This whole tactical shift, it's clearly got people talking passionately. What do you think? Does the 7-1 split, these kinds of innovations, actually make rugby better to watch, or does it take something away? We'd genuinely love to know your take on these controversial tactics. Let us know. And of course, for more deep dives into how rugby's changing and to keep these chats going, make sure you're subscribed to Rugby Obsession. But look, the 7-1 split isn't the only South African idea England seem to be looking at for their long-term strategy. Borthwick's thinking seems to go further. There's another really interesting possibility: getting props to cover hooker. Tell us a bit more about that layer of flexibility. That sounds fascinating.
Yeah, this is another big strategic play. And it needs a huge amount of work in player development. Borthwick himself mentioned Dion Forey, the flanker, who's played quite a bit in the front row, so it shows a transition is possible. But the real model they seem to be looking at is Jan Hendrik Wessels, the Springbok. He can play loose head prop and hooker, and has done it for his club and for South Africa. Now, this isn't just, filling a gap. It's fundamentally changing expectations. For a prop to become a hooker, wow, you need to master line-out throwing. That precision, under pressure, plus scrummaging, the calls, everything's a massive investment strategically, but the payoff, unmatched flexibility. Imagine managing injuries or tweaking your pack mid-game without messing up your set piece. Huge advantage.
And Borthwick pointed to other examples too, right? It's not just a Springbok thing. He mentioned Cian Healy for Ireland, famous loose head for years, but against Scotland. He actually covered hooker when they were stuck.
He did.
It really shows that this kind of cross-training, while super challenging, is already happening at the top level, and it's paying off for teams looking for that extra edge.
Absolutely. And Borthwick's thinking here is crystal clear. He said, we are exploring the possibility, as we develop some of these younger props, of them being able to play hooker too. He added, these kinds of things help at World Cups. It's part of our project planning. So, see, it's not a quick fix. It's a deep, long-term plan, investing in players to potentially reshape how squads are built for big tournaments. Think about the options you'd have if your front row replacements could genuinely cover all 3 spots, like getting 3 specialists onto 2 bench seats effectively. It's all about building squads that are tough, adaptable, and can handle anything thrown at them.
Okay, so let's just quickly recap this deep dive. We've looked at that bold 7-1 split, its roots with South Africa, how France used it so effectively. We've explored why England are looking at that incredible back row depth and the need for versatile players like Ben Earl, maybe Alex Dombrandt. And then we went beyond that, looking at the wider trend, developing these multi-skilled forwards, even props, learning to play hooker, all part of Steve Borthwick's long-term vision, it seems, for building adaptable, resilient England squads.
Yeah, and as we wrap up, maybe something for you to think about. What really stands out to you from all these tactical shifts? Do you feel these innovations add to the spectacle, the challenge of rugby? Or do they maybe take away from it, favoring power over, say, flair? And how do you see these changes shaping the game maybe in the next 5-10 years? Worth pondering, definitely.
Absolutely. Have a think on that. And if you enjoy digging into this with us and want to be part of the ongoing conversation, please do subscribe to Rugby Obsession. Thank you so much for tuning in to this Rugby Obsession deep dive. We really appreciate you listening, and we look forward to having you with us for the next one.